Hello and welcome to this, our year in review for 2020. And what a year it's been, a year of huge challenges and very difficult times for many people. So I want to start by saying thank you to everyone in the community for your support, your contribution and your resilience through the difficult days of 2020 and for keeping your focus on the future and what we want to build together. So this video is mostly about celebrating the year through the voices of the IOG team, but without the support of the community, your drive, your passion, your resilience, and your commitment, we wouldn't be where we are today. And Cardano is in a very different place to a year ago. For us, 2020 was about catching up, shaping up, and squaring up. It was about delivering on the commitments that we've long made to the community and demonstrating that your belief in the project was warranted all along and laying the foundations ready to take on the world. Because despite the setbacks, the missteps, we've always believed in ourselves and what we're building together as a community. In 2020, we've turned the corner and it's straight ahead from here. We delivered Shelley, going from a testnet to arguably the most secure and decentralized proof-of-stake network out there in just 9 months, only made possible through the support of an incredibly skilled and committed stake pool operator community. We introduced the first elements of Gogan, ready to build a host of new use cases on, and we've taken the first important steps in Voltaire governance with Project Catalyst. At the close of the year, we announced just a few of the numerous strategic partnerships that will create a unique and truly differentiated platform. And here are some numbers to help bear out all that activity. Our code forges have been burning bright all year, with consistently the highest number of code commits month after month, nearly 18,500 commits. That's around 75 every day. In terms of comms, we've published at least one blog post for every week. The majority of those also translated for our Japanese community and translated by our community and ambassadors into Spanish, Italian, Russian, Chinese, and more. On social, we've enjoyed fantastic levels of engagement from the community with over 25 million impressions on Twitter for IOHK channels alone. In 2021, we'll be ramping up our activities significantly across all our social channels to keep those levels of engagement high and to build new audiences and users in the age of smart contracts. We've released 175 videos on the IOHK YouTube channel this year, and Charles himself has contributed over 165 whiteboards and AMAs. And a shout out here to all the content creating community for Cardano, which continues to help amplify and tell the story. We've seen established podcasts go from strength to strength and lots of new faces and new shows. So thank you to you all. Our research team continues to show why it's the best in the business, with 32 research papers presented and accepted in 2020, 6 papers accepted by prestigious conferences, and 42 professional citations of Cardano papers elsewhere. It's been a good year for the Daedalus team, with over 50,000 users, 28 releases under the new flight testing program, and 12 new mainnet releases. Our recent survey captured the views of over 5,000 users, so this will be a valuable source of data as we improve and build out fresh functionality for Daedalus in the year ahead. Let's not forget our hard-working tech support team, the unsung heroes, handling over 16,000 tickets this year, creating 448 support articles and achieving a 93% user satisfaction rating. Project Catalyst has been another of the highlights of the year, with 3,500 people joining up for Fund 2 and 78 ideas on the ballot, being voted on right now over the holiday period. And of course, this is just the beginning, with millions of dollars worth of ADA available to fund the best ideas voted on by the community during 2021. 2021 is going to be a year of phenomenal growth for the ecosystem, powered by Catalyst and many other things. So you've heard a lot from me in 2020, and don't worry, you're not going to hear too much more from me in this video because we wanted to turn it over to a few other folks who you don't get to see so often. Some faces will be familiar, but many won't be. There's a team working tirelessly behind the scenes to make Cardano what it is. So let's hear from some of them and their personal highlights for 2020.
I'd say the most memorable moment of the year was when Shelley launched. It was, I believe, July 29th. We were successful with the hard fork. Everybody had come together. We flipped the switch, and suddenly we went from Byron to Shelley. We saw it on the terminal. The system was making Shelley blocks. And there was just like this amazing amount of relief. We had planned for it. We had simulated it. We had run so many tests. I saw some of the tests fail, It was almost like when the Apollo rocket took off or these other things, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, and you just weren't completely sure. And suddenly we have this network of hundreds of thousands of people and all these partners, and you just don't know until you know. So we flipped that switch, the system switched over, and after I was all done, I got into my car, and I have a convertible, and I was driving home, and the top was down, and I had this great moment where I was playing on the radio, the Rolling Stones, "You can't always get what you want. Sometimes you get what you need." And it was a perfect song for a perfect moment where we had been through so much and we didn't quite get all the things that we wanted to get or aspired to get. But we certainly got what we needed that day. We got Cardano to the next level, and we put ourselves in a very competitive position entering into 2021. And I think that was probably the best moment of the entire year.
The feeling when Shelley launched, like, what is it? I think, like, for me, it was more of a reflection moment. What I had in my mind was like these endless whiteboards and blackboards, like meetings we had where we theorized about how the system would actually work, and everything was like a little drawing. And there was like the parties were always little, like, stick figures on a whiteboard, and there were some equations and some arrows going, and somehow, this moment of reflection where you think about like all these endless stick figures and little arrows and things that you had on the whiteboard. Now it's like real, like there are real people that are driving this, and somehow seeing that what the research predicted was basically what was happening. It was really an amazing moment, and a moment of fulfillment, a moment of joy, and ultimately a moment of I think like sharing the realization that the vision about that system is not something that existed just between few people, but is actually a vision that can be shared and understood with a lot of people. I think this was really empowering, and this is really, for me, that really it was one of these moments in my life that was really I could consider it like life before that moment and life after that moment. And I think the biggest aspect of it is the realization of sharing ideals and concepts about how the world should run with a lot of people, and this is what became a reality with Shelley, a big moment, certainly.
So the launch of Shelley was both an intellectual and an emotional moment. I mean, as everybody knows, I've been going on for years about how we need to do things in this way, with formal methods, doing things properly, blah blah blah. And so as the Shelley countdown approached, kind of intellectually, like in my head, I knew that it was just going to work because we designed it properly, we tested it, all the rest of it. But kind of like emotionally, it's like, God, it better bloody work, because I've staked a lot of my reputation on doing it this way and doing in this particular way. And I said, look, if we do it this way, it'll be successful. And intellectually, I know that's right, but there's still a certain flutter in the heart when it really comes down to it. But yeah, still, it was a great satisfaction in being able to deliver on the whole thing that we had planned and promised, and it really worked out technically in the way that we hoped. So yeah, that was very, very satisfying.
And I have to say, out of all the years that I've been with the company, this has probably been one of the toughest years, but one of the most rewarding years of my career. We have been through a lot. We have been through a lot together. We've been tested on so many different levels as a team. And this year was the first time, especially lately, that I've seen something that I've never seen in my entire life. I've seen a team of people come together and actually continuously strive to do the right thing, to do what is principled, to do what is ethical according to us, to do what we think is right, to ask the really, really, really tough questions, and to keep going, even in the face of adversity. I know that sounds like a cliche, but the adversity that we face as an industry in blockchain it really can't be understated. We're challenging pre-existing norms. We're challenging the legal system. We're challenging the way we think about platforms and product and interface with each other and share value. And we're exploring things like identity and what does identity really mean to us and to people in the developing world.
The highlight of my year, my proudest moment, is actually happening right now. We got everybody ready to launch voting for Fund 2, where we're finally bringing together all the components of Catalyst to give our community the ability to choose how they're going to fund or which proposals they're going to fund for to improve Cardano. And it's just amazing to see how all these things coming together, from having thousands of participants that made this possible to around 80 proposers that are now on the ballot, to almost 100 community advisors that review the proposals, and then looking at the different teams, the ethics that developed the mobile application, the Jormungandr team who developed the blockchain, the Daedalus wallet that's ready for registration, looking at ID scale and the innovation process that's happening on top of it, the town halls and all the community hubs that emerged from the community throughout this time. And I think the conclusion is also what's going to happen after these holidays, which is that everybody's going to get funded and going to get going. And for me, to seeing all these components emerge, the development, the research, but really mostly just the community and their incredible engagement, it makes me so damn proud.
I have to say the biggest achievement for me in 2020 has to be the Shelley Summit. Now, I've worked in the events industry for over 20 years now, and it has to be one of the most challenging events that I've ever worked on. We had a 2-day event that ran for 12 hours each day. We had 5 simultaneous tracks running at the same time, and we had 100 speakers. So it was a huge challenge. But not only that, we had 11,000 people attend the event, which is absolutely huge. So it was a huge success. And I'm really proud that the IO team worked together to produce such an amazing and successful event. So not only was it one of the highlights of 2020, but also one of the highlights of my career so far.
Obviously, 2020 has been a very busy year for the team. We've had a couple of standout moments. One is the actual official launch of Prism, and where we've had a really great website that allows people to interact with the Thaler Prism and see the benefits of it. And obviously the next big moment in 2020 was the Shelley Launch. And with the Shelley Launch, this has allowed us to integrate with the Cardano blockchain. And that's really helped us to progress the product and set us up for 2021.
So for 2020, there have been several outstanding moments for me relating to IOHK and the rollout of Cardano. So the first one was probably the ITN, getting that going, seeing people connecting to Cardano, earning rewards through the incentivized testnet. Then, of course, we rolled out the Byron reboot, and with the Byron reboot, we laid the groundwork for all the future evolution of Cardano. So that's a very, very significant moment for the technical team. Although in terms of the user experience, probably very little would have been seen. We essentially very smoothly went from one code base to a completely different code base. And it's a testament to the quality of the engineering team that this was done pretty well without a hitch. One day we were running the old code base. The next, we were running a completely new, rewritten from the ground up, but completely compatible code base. And then, of course, in July, we topped that by rolling out Shelley, by going through the first hard fork event on the Cardano mainnet, and introducing delegation, staking, and lots of other features onto Cardano. When the hard fork event happened, there's a whole group of us sitting around with glasses of champagne and the like, watching the timer countdown. So half the company is watching the countdown as it happened. And there we saw the words hard fork event about to happen, hard fork triggered, or words to that effect. And then very shortly afterwards, it actually happened. And nothing went wrong. And that's brilliant. To be frank, you see what happens on other blockchains when they're changing protocol versions, and you see how little happens when we do a protocol version change, and you think, actually, that's magic. So the fact that nothing major was observed, that's an incredible achievement, and we're planning to do that again and again and again now that we've done it once. So these so far have been the biggest events, I think, of 2020.
For me, this year, what was quite exciting, or very exciting, was the Shelley release, because that also got me involved much more with our community. So I mean, I had done mostly teaching to employees and students before, and so it was nice to be more engaged with the community directly, and doing this stake pool operator course, and appearing in interviews and on these Cardano shows. So I enjoyed that a lot, because it gave me much broader exposure to all sorts of people that are involved with IOHK and with Cardano. And as far as the Haskell courses are concerned, this year, of course, was difficult due to the travel restrictions. So sadly, I couldn't do a large Haskell course like last year in Ethiopia again in person. But nevertheless, we did one with Mongolian students, a virtual course this time. And that was, of course, quite challenging, because I always find it important, if you teach students, to look them in the eye and see their reactions, and see how they respond to when you explain something. Then it's much easier to see whether they get it or not, or whether you have to give some more explanations. But I think, given the circumstances, we managed to do that quite well. I mean, it was personally quite challenging because of the time difference, so I had to get up every morning at 5 o'clock or something. But that was fine. And I think, as I said, given the circumstances, it was relatively successful. And we learned to deal with this virtual setting, which will also be helpful in future, because we can do more. We gathered experience with this virtual platform, and providing the assignments via GitHub, and employing much more auto grading and stuff like that. And also gathered much more experience teaching Plutus on Marlow. What was also very nice was to see the impact of our previous courses. In particular, I was working quite closely in the last weeks with one of the students from my Ethiopia course, who is now heavily involved in an exciting project we are doing in Africa. So that was nice to now actually work with one of my former students.
Part of my role has been to avoid failure, right? My role is not to construct success, but to avoid failures in the system. And you can see this. It exposes. It tells you I've been exposed to watching lots of things fail, and they all tend to fail for various similar reasons. People overreaching themselves, people not understanding the physics of what they're actually doing, how they're getting on with the notion of distributed data, the fact it takes time to propagate, etc., etc., etc. So one of the, I think one of the great highlights of the whole Shelley approach, and constructing what we constructed effectively is a high-performance, permissionless data diffusion system, which diffuses the information that the blockchain consumes and the blockchain constructs itself, is that we've basically driven something as close to what the physics can allow us to do. So we're basically getting this diffusion times that are within 10-20% of the theoretical maximum. Okay, right? On a worldwide basis, with data flowing around the world in a sub-second. Okay, now that's the sort of thing that governments and military have sought to do for years. And actually, by doing it right and avoiding a lot of the pitfalls that are apparent if you understand the physics and how protocols can be made to work, we've basically got something which we know the envy of other major world governments type stuff. Like from Hitchhiker's Guide. It is as close as you can get to perfection, given the infrastructure we have to work on.
For me, I suppose 2020 was a productive year, even though it was really challenging at times for lots of reasons. But yeah, the main memorable memory for me really was the Shelley launch, the big release that we had. And then for the documentation team, it was launching. We did a new revamped Cardano Docs website. So we published a whole new suite of documentation for our stateful operators, our dev community, and our general users. And that was the big highlight for the tech writing team, really.
What moments stand out for 2020 for me? Definitely the launch of Shelley, which is no surprise. But with it came the inclusion of metadata in Cardano. And metadata is a very simple feature, but it adds a lot of commercial value to it. And a lot of applications now suddenly become available. For instance, we had to be very creative on the way we represented data for new bonds. But now that we have metadata, all of our clients are benefiting from it.
So I think one of the sort of like more interesting parts of this year is this introduction of the Graphql Api, where like the Graphql Api basically gives sort of individual app developers and like just people that want to interact with the Cardano chain more flexibility and more performance than for instance the previous REST API. But I think that's like one of the more interesting components that has been added to the Addressio suite. And for the rest, I mean, it's just great to see that the wallet, survived the Shelley hard fork. There weren't any hiccups, and I think that with the adoption of the wallet, the goal of the wallet has slightly changed a bit. So it's more also focused on enterprise clients. So you see that specifically exchanges with very large amounts of funds are able to manage their funds with the Addressio wallet backend, and that's just really cool, because up until this point it was solely used for dataless, so as the dataless backend, and now you see that it's being adopted by larger exchanges, and you see that they are having to manage large UTXOs, a lot of transactions, and the wallet has been able to manage that. Actually, we spent I think the better part of 2 months sort of really improving the performance of the wallet backend in order to sort of cater to that specific audience. So I think from the Addressio team, that's probably the most interesting bit.
This was a great year for research at IOHK. In terms of productivity, we had some 32 papers accepted for publication and that underwent through peer review. Furthermore, about 9 of these papers were directly related with the engineering efforts in Cardano.
The most satisfying moment of 2020 for me was when we got Bittrex back online. So I think a lot of people have an idea that it was a bit of an ordeal, and after the Shelley hard fork, Bittrex had a number of issues, and it took a huge amount of collaboration between the two of us to resolve it. And I think getting them back online and then doing a retrospective together with Bittrex was excellent. Yeah, it was really satisfying because I think it brought us closer together. We understood more about each other's businesses, and even just personally, I think connecting with the team there was brilliant.
My proudest moment during 2020, I think, is the work that we have done with Yoroi, especially right after Shelley, when everything was like this new protocol, when we are going to have decentralization, and we needed to have all the stakeholders being able to like display in Yoroi, and the other side, like users to be able to see like the information from the stake pools and being able to delegate. And this was a lot of work. And so not only we were able to achieve this, but also we were thinking like, oh, there's going to be some things that others are going to have a hard time. So we open source some libraries, for example, serialization library, which other wallets and even exchanges now are using to be able to work with Cardano. So it felt great that we did something else. We were able to share our work with others.
I think our biggest highlight at Emurgo was the release of our Rust Cardano library. So historically, the Yoroi extension and Yoroi mobile have depended on a Rust implementation of Cardano to power all the features, because we need that to work easily with Cardano in a mobile wallet and in a browser. For Shelley, we had to rewrite from scratch a whole new library, and we couldn't depend on IOHK to do it for us. This time we had to do it ourselves. And we managed to work together as a team and write a tool that automatically takes the specifications from Cardano and generates a Rust library from it. And this Rust library is now being used to power Yoroi Mobile and the Yoroi extension. And on top of that, because it's so easy to use, and because it's automatically generated from the specification, a lot of exchanges and other wallets have found it very easy to use also. So we've had some very large exchanges and large wallets come out and reach out to us saying, hey, we really like your Rust library and we'd like to use it in our software stack. So it's great to see that not only is the Yoroi mobile and Yoroi extension as a product gaining traction, but also the core libraries and work that Emurgo does for the ecosystem is also being reused by a lot of partners. And so I'm really happy with that.
So the biggest challenge for us as a team was to help the CF to get Cardano.org out and live in time for the launch of Shelley. And it was great to see collaboration between the two entities to make that a reality. The main reason for getting that done is the previous site, which the CF owned, that just couldn't be updated. It was quite out of date in terms of all the content that sat on it, and they had no way of really changing it. So it needed replacing, and it needed replacing for when Shelley went out, when we knew we were going to get a lot more fresh visitors to the project and to the site, trying to find out what Cardano was all about. So it was a CF-led piece of work. They worked with McCann to define the branding and a lot of the layouts and things that were there. But we built the site for them, and it has a CMS throughout it, so they can update the content as they want without developer resources on their end. And hopefully it does justice to the project a bit more than the previous iteration did.
So another big milestone was that we launched our first US-based laboratory at the University of Wyoming. So that's another important milestone there. So we have a fourth member in our university laboratory network.
I am extremely proud of what achieved the team in 2020, delivering such complexity and difficulty, and digesting this to deliver in time was definitely an exercise. And from the garage to actually be launching the product on the market, it was a big achievement as a team, with a lot of improvements in terms of methodology, in terms of structure, organization. IO definitely grew up this year.
One of my favorite memories this year was the PwC workshop. We all met, Emurgo, Cardano Foundation, and IOHK. We all had a chance to meet in London before COVID hit, just 1 week before the world sort of shut down. And it was such an amazing time. It was so cool to see all of our independent entities and people from those entities working together on a common goal, which is Cardano. And everybody challenged each other. We all got to know each other a little bit better. We all came together. And at the end of it, we came up with sort of a common mission and a common goal on how to work together moving forward with strong governance at its basis. So one of the things that came out of the workshop is developing an ecosystem with very strong, transparent governance. And that means how we work together as entities, governance as far as Catalyst, and how we vote on the systems that we're our treasury system.
We are TSD, the technical support desk, and we provide support to all the products that IOHK builds. We were reviewing in our last team meeting our scores for the year. Every time we have a user, we ask him to give us a rating of how satisfied he is with the support he received. And in our last meeting, we were seeing our numbers for the entire year, and we are so proud about these numbers because we just picked our highest rating ever during this year, which is close to 93%. So it means like 93 out of 100 users are totally satisfied with the support they receive. So we are really happy with these numbers. Of course, we need to try for more, even 100%, even when it's impossible. But we are really happy with these numbers, and that means that the product is evolving very good, that the products we support are evolving very good, but also that we as a team are getting a deeper knowledge of the software that we support.
Looking back at 2020, it's really been a big year for us in cybersecurity. We've had multiple third-party audits on several of our products, which have all had very good results as far as with acceptance to the community and what the auditors thought of our coding prowess. We've finished out the year without any detectable data breaches or loss of data, which is really good. And then, of course, we've got several big projects that we've had in the works most of this year. Part of that was the YubiKey rollout, which actually we just finished, rolling out Mattermost, which has been pushed off to first quarter of 2021. But some of the other big ones that we've had, it's been working with authorities for tracing and tracking thefts, trying to identify money laundering and stuff like that. So there's been a project that's been ongoing where we're working to produce a automated tool for being able to do those kind of things.
And we were shipping major things this year. We shipped Shelley this year. We're shipping big parts of Goguen this year. Voltaire rolled out this year. We published the Hydra paper this year, and we kind of rolled out that whole agenda of how we're going to start pursuing interoperability and scalability as a platform. And while those were major milestones and accomplishments, and these were things that really got the ecosystem aligned, there's so much work to do as a consequence of the existence of these things. For example, when you release Shelley, suddenly you now have to actually get everybody on board with the economic policy of Shelley, how the stake pool operators are going to run, the K parameter, the A naught parameter, explaining the reward function. We wrote a lot of these things over 2 years ago. No one read or cared about the papers until the system was live. And then suddenly everybody's read, everybody's caring about the paper, everybody's a game theorist. So the consequences of success, the consequences of launching, to build all of those systems and build all those relationships and deal with different opinions and constituencies has been not only a tremendous challenge, but it's also been a tremendous opportunity to actually test our ideas in practice and learn from those ideas in practice.
So 2020, a year of remarkable progress for the project. Also a year, for obvious reasons, of great personal and professional challenges. So let's now hear from some of the team about some of those challenges, how they were overcome, and what we've learned along the way.
Look, we know this year has been an extraordinarily challenging year, difficult year. For me, I think for me and the team, I think it's incredible to think that I never met any single person in IOHK. I never met anybody in real life. We have a software stack that has like maybe 7 different layers only to tightly integrate and coordinate between them. And we did it all through chats and through video calls and through a lot of trust. And I think the team did a commendable effort and an achievement.
For developers, it's not so difficult to work remotely because we use Slack, we use like different tools, and this is something that we have been doing. But for businesses and enterprises, you actually need someone to see you face to face. You need to build like relationship. You need to build like this network. And for this, we had to change a lot of things, and we started working with like multiple partners so we can like actually be able to do this. And during COVID, as everyone knows, has been like really difficult to get out and meet people and build relationships. But I think we have achieved it, and we have like a great things for 2021.
It's been a long year, all things considered. It's been a tough year for everyone. We as a company had to learn how to operate remotely. We are a remote company, but we always had the luxury of just being a plane flight away. And we'd gotten used to this concept of bringing small groups of people together to accelerate projects. And we went from that luxury and the power of bringing the whole world together to basically being isolated and siloed and having to do everything remotely, everything over a webcam, everything over a microphone. There were so many cases of things that could be so easily resolved by grabbing a beer and pulling some people together and then just having a discussion in person that were no longer possible as a direct result of coronavirus. And so that was the first major challenge for us as an entity, was learning how to operate remotely.
2020 was a very peculiar year. And not only because we had a lot of challenges, not only our company, but all humanity with the pandemic. And so that it put on the table many topics that relate very closely to the industry that we work on, reinvigorating the reason why we do what we do, because we have to find better ways of collaborating as not only as a country, as a city, not only as a company, even families and so on and so forth. There are a lot of systems that were built for a specific reason and taking into consideration a specific context. And the world is quickly changing.
I think in a bigger perspective, the entire world is looking at the edges of how we coordinate globally. Okay, and I think looking at the start of this pandemic, we sucked. We sucked really bad, right? Like there was a disaster looming. The information was there, but the world was not able to react. Put us all in this crisis. And for me, I find what Project Catalyst is trying to do is trying to address these questions. It's trying to look at decentralized collaboration, try to look at these problems of coordination and misaligned incentives, and trying to pose an alternative. We're just trying. We're just starting. This is just like a first couple of experiments we've been doing, but I think this is one of the few projects that is tackling head-on this challenge of global coordination, because it's not just me and my team that haven't met in person. It's thousands and thousands of people that come from all the continents on this planet that work together to bring these proposals into light and to make a very complex decision-making process happen in a very rapid pace. And I think we're going in the right direction, and I think we're ready to be an inspiration to the world about what we're doing. So maybe something sweet will come out of this bitter challenge.
We're clearly moving into a world where our digital identity matters. We're increasingly establishing a line of trust from some source of truth to some end event is incredibly important. And this matters for simple things like day-to-day transactions in banking systems. In the West, in the UK, we're extremely lucky to have an advanced and generally reasonably well-functioning financial system. Occasionally we get glitches. We've seen a few of those this year with various events with some of the big banks, but mostly it just works for us. What we don't always appreciate is that many people in much of the world don't have access to such a good financial system. They find it hard perhaps to even do day-to-day transactions. And what we're doing with Cardinal is to create a system of trust that enables individuals to be part of a global financial ecosystem. This is incredibly empowering to many people across the world. The issues of identity, of course, they're also important in many, many contexts. They're important, for example, in voting rights. I've mentioned voting before. But one of the fundamental aspects of citizenship is proving that you have certain rights. At the same time, what we don't want to do in many systems is to give up rights of privacy. So we need a way to establish our identity in a clear, recognizable and trustworthy way without giving away information that we don't want to give away, that shouldn't be revealed. And this is just going to become more important going forward.
You know, if you live in the UK, one of the things that's happened since 2016 is that trust has had had petrol poured on it and set fire to. There's a massive bonfire of trust going on, and similarly in the United States, right? People are burning up trust in order to oppose their agendas, and that's not good for us as a society, or it's not good for us as a global society or even individual societies. How do you get trust back? Well, blockchain technologies help with part of that trust, right? They basically allow you to construct visibility, construct immutability, construct, things aren't happening behind your back, but at the same time, they also are not trivial to comprehend, and therefore they create a potential, digerati or wizardry who are going to say, please trust me. So they construct a new unit of trust, another priesthood, okay? As opposed to the politics. So there's going to be an interesting balance there of, living with the complexity of this stuff. This stuff isn't simple to comprehend. People have enough the common man, everybody, even me, has enough problem dealing with the paperwork of life as it stands. Hey, how do we make it more consumable and more trust transparent? Is going to be an interesting one.
We've seen a lot of divisiveness all over the world. We've seen people, though, that also have to come together for one common purpose. And in this case, it's COVID, and it's fighting COVID as a global community and working together to do that. And it's not always easy to work together, especially on a global scale. It's hard enough to do it on a national scale. But what I think we've come to realize, regardless of our opinions on how things should be done, regardless on what political spectrum you sit or what views you hold, I think one thing we can all agree on is that we have to start building solutions together that support our growth together as a global community. And I think blockchain, one of the most interesting parts about it is that when you're building something like this, like an identity system, for example, or a global system for financial inclusion, you find that you have so many shared problems that you can and sort of have to solve together. And if we focus on solving those problems and we focus on doing it in an emotionally intelligent way, and we focus on how we collaborate with each other and speak with each other while we do this, I think I'm very optimistic that we can be successful and continue to build projects together on a global scale.
The other challenge as a company is that the environment ecosystem continues to change. New competitors materialize, like Polkadot this year, and Ethereum 2 is actually starting to finally mature to a point where there's some certainty behind its launch. And the regulatory environment has certainly changed, and we've seen the rise of DeFi and CBDCs and other such things. And what's encouraging is that the bets that we made in the beginning of the project well align us to be competitive in each and every one of these spaces, alongside other product synergies, like, for example, the existence of the Prism product, which means that we can put identity as a first-class citizen inside the system, and that will enable us to deal with complex compliance situations and do supply chains and voting and all kinds of other things that other systems have a lot of difficulty doing or do in a very fragmented and case-by-case basis. So exiting this year, I feel very comfortable with the competitive reality for Cardano in 2021. And I also have an enormous amount of admiration and gratitude for the team as a whole, of how much they've had to endure, how hard they've had to work, and how everybody came together regardless of how stressful or taxing it became.
Now, of course, as big a year as 2020 was, it was all about building firm foundations for exponential growth in 2021. We know that in many ways, next year will be even more remarkable. So what are the team looking forward to in the new year?
So I'm genuinely excited about the new year because I think much more of a focus is being paid on the quality of the experience that we provide in our sites, in our social channels, and in the products that we provide to people. So not just that they're technically doing what they need to do, but they feel premium, they feel like they embody the brand. And I'm looking forward to helping deliver a lot more great work that feels premium to the people that encounter it, really.
Part of my role is to put everybody in their, in the right places, and so that to empower them to do their job. And this year is the first time, actually today, even I was just talking to Jer, even today, this was the first time that we actually have a full suite of leadership in the organization. We're finally resourced and ready to really take on what we need to take on in 2021. And what we're trying to take on in 2021 and beyond is massive. It's huge. It's endless, really.
Looking forward to 2021, well, we've got more hard fork events coming up. So the first one's going to be introducing native tokens into Cardano. This is going to be great because now users will be able to produce their own custom tokens to transact with tokens that aren't just ADA. So these can be things that are meaningful to them. They can set up a whole ecosystem around minting, exchanging their own tokens for items of value. And then we'll be moving forward to full smart contracts, Plutus Core. So we'll be executing on-chain smart contracts in an essentially unrestricted language. That's going to be incredibly exciting for us. Lots and lots of possibilities opening up from that. We'll be introducing voting onto the chain. I'm just in the process of setting up the technical work on that at the moment. It's going to be quite a big thing for the ecosystem because we'll be moving from a situation where IOG, Cardano Foundation, Emergo are controlling the network to one where we've given away control to the community. So this is one of the biggest experiments in direct democracy that has happened in quite a long time.
I'm very excited about 2021. We have to deliver Gauguin and Voltaire, so our smart contract feature and our decentralized governance system. And this, along with creating, those communities of smart contract developers and even those communities of governance to fund the ecosystem and update the system itself. It's definitely a year which will be very interesting to go through as we are handing over basically every aspect of Cardano to the community.
Okay, for 2021, I suppose we've lots of documentation that we're planning for already. The main highlight probably is Gauguin. We're quite excited about that. That's going to be a big and important milestone for input-output. So we're already planning for those materials. We've started writing some of them already. We're going to be quite busy with that coming into the new year. And I think on a personal level, I'm quite excited about reconnecting with our colleagues again and meeting people face-to-face, hopefully, in the new year.
For 2021, what I'm really excited about is the fact that we're finally going to be growing a cybersecurity team, which is going to allow us to become much more proactive in our security stance for the company as a whole. It's going to allow us to get much more involved in doing internal static and dynamic audits of our code base. And it's going to allow us to take on some other really big projects, which are really important for the company.
So with Gauguin coming out and all sorts of other exciting pieces being released next year, I expect that interest in Cardano will increase tremendously, and that's very exciting also for education, of course, because I anticipate a lot many more people being interested and many more students that want to learn Marlo and Plutus and all our other technologies. And we also plan a certification program. The details still have to be decided, but then it will be possible to become something like a certified Plutus developer or certified Marlo developer. And so we are also heavily involved in that. And that's quite exciting. I'm really looking forward to that.
Shelley bring many people to the community and even awake many people from the community that was a little bit dormant. So it has been a lot of new users coming to us and using our products. We have seen our downloads go up by thousands and thousands of new downloads of new users. So that's also very important for us. And this year with the release of Shelley, of course, it's been super important for us, both as Cardano and as IOHK, because we are showing that we deliver what we promised and we are doing our best to support them. And I don't know, I'm really looking forward for 2021 because we will have so many amazing new products like Catalyst, where this is like the first part of Voltaire. We are talking about governance of the system, and with Catalyst we are witnessing how people is taking control, how the community is taking control over the project, over Cardano, by voting which proposals to support and to adopt and to fund, actually, right? So it's very interesting for us to be supporting this kind of products. Of course, we are looking forward for supporting Gauguin. Gauguin is like, we are finally bringing smart contracts to Cardano, and supporting that will be super exciting because we cannot really wait to see what people will build on top of Cardano with that new dApps and DeFi. And we think, for example, that Marlo will be like a revolution for DeFi. So we are really looking forward for next year. And because of that, we are building dedicated teams for providing support to all of these new products and services that are coming to Cardano, for example, and also to, for example, Atala Prism, which is not a Cardano direct product, but is a closely related product. And we are building these capabilities to provide support to all of these products and services. So we are extremely busy and extremely happy by the end of the year, right?
So I think the big things coming up for next year, for 2021, obviously early in the year there's going to be the hard fork where the multi-asset feature is introduced, and that's quite a significant thing. That really takes Cardano from being a single asset system to there's lots and lots of applications that can be enabled by custom assets, and we're jumping straight into having fungible and non-fungible assets, which is quite exciting. Later in the year, we're expecting governance things to be coming along. The networking has been kind of in the background throughout this year. I mean, there's always kind of questions like when peer-to-peer, but it's been going on in the background. With obviously most of the focus has been on the ledger features, Shelley, etc. Yeah, so we've been doing a research project that's been going on this year, and I think the fruits of that will be integrated into the networking, and so I'm looking forward sometime next year to demonstrating the full decentralization of the network layer, and I think there's some actually really innovative things in there, and so I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be quite interesting. And then just on a personal note, it'll be really nice sometime in the spring or summer. Hopefully the pandemic situation will be a bit better, and we can actually go to conferences again and meet up with people in person, and that will be I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, so 2021 is going to be a breakout year for Atala Prism. We're working on our angel list of customers, and so we're really looking forward to having big news in Africa, where we're going to roll out our digital identity solution to millions of users.
I mean, for me, it's been a process of learning about this community and discovering about it, and just getting so inspired every single time some expectation, something came up. The community went beyond expectations, maybe 3 or 4 times beyond any sort of metrics, any thought of expectations. You guys, you keep surprising me all the time, and I know it's also been hard for you. I know that it's been a long, tough year, that a lot of us been in quarantine and in an era of uncertainty. And I think we're heading out to a 2021 that's gonna be amazing and opening and somewhere different. And I really encourage each and every one of you to take some of these weeks of winter vacation and restore and reset and realize that everything's fine and we're doing great and we're making amazing progress together. And we're just going to be continue to do that good work, be there for one another, and give yourself a break, do something nice for yourself, take care of yourself, your family, your friends, and come back. And we'll come back 2021, new and renewed and hungry, ready to take over the world.
We're going for #1 at Emurgo. I hope that Yoroi becomes the top mobile wallet and the top browser wallet. We're almost there. So I just look forward to your continued support.
I really do love coming to work every day. I've been with the company for 4 years, and there's not a day that goes by that I'm not having fun doing what we do. I work with the best people in the world. Working with Charles as a leader for this organization in this space is a dream come true. Working for somebody that has integrity and vision and just keeps going no matter what in adversity, even in the face of adversity, is truly something that most people won't have a chance to experience in their lifetime. So I can't wait for 2021. I know it's going to be even better than this year. We have so much coming down the pike, and I'm excited to deliver on that with this team.
I'm really, really looking forward for 2021 because we'll be able to bring many more use cases to Cardano. The community will grow. We'll all be able, this is an open system, we'll all be able to build on top of it, to utilize it. It stands out of, in front of other offers out there in the market. And we should take advantage of that. Cardano is proposing a lot of new ideas that will enable us and everyone to solve the same problems in a better way. So I hope to see you all in 2021 after Christmas, New Year, getting hands-on with the platform. And I would love to see great ideas come out of it.
I wish to everyone a happy holiday season. This has been a difficult year for all of us, but I think we can now look forward to a bright future. That I think what is important to consider here is that this was a year that the whole humanity came together. We put our tools to work. Science played a very important aspect to getting ourselves out of the difficult situation that we put in. And I think we prevailed all together, working together and building tools that make it feasible for us to work together. So being together, work with each other, understand. I think this is the message. And participating in a project like Cardano and the tools that IOHK is building around that system makes things like that feasible. So I think there is a unique opportunity for all of us, for this community, to go to the next year with a lot of enthusiasm. And I personally, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to be part of that.
So I hope you've enjoyed this look back and look forward. And I also hope everyone has been getting some much needed downtime with family, friends, and loved ones over the holiday period. With our batteries fully recharged, we'll see you back here in the new year. 2021 is going to be Cardano's year, and we're looking forward to having you with us every step of the way.